up everybody, Nate here. And the results are finally in if XRP/Ripple is going to be considered a security by the SEC and federal government. Is XRP, the cryptocurrency from Ripple, finally going to be considered a security according to the SEC? And the answer is no. A judge decided in XRP and Ripple's favor, saying that XRP is not going to be considered a security. Now, this has huge implications for the cryptocurrency market and for investors in general. It has huge implications on regulations and the amount of taxes that investors are going to have to pay on that investment. So today, I want to talk about what this means for investors, what this means for exchanges, and what it means for cryptocurrency itself. Now, right after this decision, XRP's value essentially jumped by around 25%, going around 40 cents per coin all the way up to around 80 cents. And that's a pretty huge jump, making XRP one of the most valuable cryptocurrencies on the planet in basically one day. So let's start with the basics and talk about what exactly happened. Well, this whole legal issue between XRP and the SEC has been ongoing for the last 3 years or so. The SEC has alleged that Ripple, the company that created XRP, has been selling the coin as a security. Now, the whole issue here is that the SEC alleged that this coin was a security, and it was saying that Ripple was selling it and it wasn't following proper regulations like a lot of stocks and ETFs would have to follow on Wall Street. And the reason being is because Ripple didn't really believe that XRP was a security, so the two essentially went into a legal battle. Now, the value of XRP has pretty much been dipping since this court battle began because a lot of investors were wondering what the result was going to be, because if the SEC decided that XRP was in fact a security, well then what exactly does that mean for the entire rest of the cryptocurrency market? Would that mean that other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and Dogecoin and Bitcoin would also become securities and would have to follow the same rules and regulations as stocks and bonds on Wall Street? As of right now, the precedent is that cryptocurrencies related to XRP are not considered securities, and this is why. The court said that purchasers of XRP did not have a reason to believe they were going to make a profit from Ripple. So because there was not an expectation of profits coming from it, then the idea of an investment and a security pretty much goes out the window. Now, the SEC and the court systems and the federal government don't just have a random dartboard to decide what exactly is a security and what isn't. No, to decide if something is a security or not, the SEC uses something called the Howey test. Basically, they look at if there is an investment contract that is being exchanged between the parties, there is a formation of a common enterprise, promise of profits by the issuer, and there is a third party that is sort of promoting the offering. If all of those things are sort of in place, then you can technically classify an asset or an investment as a security. And if you do, that means that it can be traded and it also needs to be regulated by the SEC. But the thing that we're going to be focusing on the most today is number 3, the expectation of profits from cryptocurrency. Now, this idea of whether cryptocurrency is a security and if it's not a security has been plaguing the crypto market for a very long time now. And the reason being is because cryptocurrency is extremely complicated. For instance, you can use cryptocurrency for many different things. You can use it as a commodity, so you can use it as something that holds a value that can be exchanged, and you can use it as a currency. So you literally can take it to certain retailers and spend it. For instance, you can't just take a random stock or bond to Walmart and try to use that as your payment for your groceries. What you have to do instead is sell that asset into a currency that you can then use. But then the opposite is true too. You can't just walk into a store with gold and try to use it to buy your groceries either. It's not going to work. That is kind of the issue with cryptocurrency, and a lot of cryptocurrencies, because they're exclusively online and they're used for a variety of different things, while exchanges and the SEC have had a really hard time classifying them. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why does it matter? Why does classification matter? And there's two major reasons. The first has a lot to do with just internet piracy, and the second has a lot to do with taxes. If we talk about taxes for a minute, well, when you sell a stock, when you sell a bond, when you sell gold, well, there is something called a capital gains tax that comes from that. There's a whole structure written out in the tax code for when you actually sell an asset and when you actually have to pay taxes on that asset. Cryptocurrency works a little bit different. You do have capital gains taxes, but there is a lot of other loopholes simply because a lot of cryptos are not securities. And the other issue is because of internet piracy. Because cryptocurrency is decentralized, meaning that it isn't controlled by a governing body, it's instead controlled by the people. Well, that means that millions of people who use cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Bitcoin and now XRP, all of their transactions are completely anonymous, and they could be buying and selling whatever online. That obviously can be dangerous for a lot of different reasons, but it's also one of the huge advantages to cryptocurrency in the first place. It's not controlled by a governing body, which means it's protected from things like inflation. But you know what other investments are usually protected by things like inflation? Commodities. And this whole court case basically classifies a lot of cryptocurrencies as commodities and not securities. The big difference between a commodity and a security is when you buy into a security, there is some sort of promise of profit. It is an investment. Basically, if you buy a stock on the New York Stock Exchange, where you're not just buying some random piece of paper, no, you are buying a piece of ownership in a company that is going to have some sort of earnings, that is going to have some sort of growth potential. And the idea here is that as the company grows, as our economy does a whole lot better and expands, and that company is going to have a bigger and better share price. And eventually there's going to be a profit for you because you bought in at a certain level a long time ago. Not to mention you have ownership, so there is a contract there. So it basically does fall under the idea of a security, but a commodity and the definition is completely different. The only reason commodities are valuable in the first place is because people say they are valuable. A piece of gold is the same piece of gold that it has been for 100 and 200 and 300 years. But people find it valuable because it is a different medium of exchange than our traditional money, which again is susceptible to things like inflation. So the value of a cryptocurrency and also commodities like precious metals and oil and energy are that people find them valuable. It's that there is a universal sense of value in them. So for crypto, this means that now there is a lot of other tax implications, and it also means that regulations are not going to be as harsh as they would be because they're not going to have to be scrutinized as closely by the SEC. Things get a little bit more complicated though when we talk about exchanges, because for instance, Coinbase, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, recently went public on the New York Stock Exchange. But should it be considered an exchange at all? Because if it's not exchanging securities like stocks and bonds, then what exactly is it exchanging? And the bigger question is, should these exchanges actually be called exchanges at all? And should they be allowed to have cryptocurrencies on them? If, for instance, XRP is not a security, then where can you go to trade it? Yeah, that's where things get a little bit tricky, because exchanges for years now have been talking about that they don't want regulation in the cryptocurrency industry, and they want to push back against the SEC and the federal government. They believe that their investors and their customers just don't want it. Not to mention, they feel like it stifles innovation a lot. Now, to actually upgrade that cryptocurrency or create a brand new cryptocurrency, you have to go through a bunch of regulation hoops. That can slow the entire market down, and for investors in cryptocurrency, it is all about speed. Now, with some cryptocurrencies possibly being considered commodities, well, that whole exchange basically changes. Now, it's not the profits that come with buying the asset that you're after. Now you're just actually after the asset itself. You want to hold gold and you want to hold Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies because you want to protect yourself against certain industries. You want to protect yourself against the US dollar potentially losing value. You want to protect your finances. Now, if you're heavy into the crypto market, this is probably really good news for you, because the lack of regulation in the industry is what a lot of cryptocurrency investors actually want. They want it to continue to be decentralized. If the US government is regulating it and has all of this control over it, well, then that's going to be really hard for individuals to have a say in crypto. Then it just becomes a brand new asset class like everything else. But with the SEC basically not able to regulate it as much, at least up to this point, well, that makes it a little bit more free, and it continues that decentralized nature. That's what a lot of cryptocurrency investors want, but not everybody is happy about the news either, because some investors actually want a little bit more regulation in the industry. I don't have to tell you that the cryptocurrency market is pretty crazy when it comes to value. Like for instance, Bitcoin hit a record high of around $65,000 to $69,000 per coin all the way back in November of 2021. But today, the coin is trading at around $30,000 per one coin, which yeah, is still a lot, but it's been cut by around 50% from its all-time high in such a short time. That is an extreme volatility, and the reason for that is because there isn't as many regulations in the industry. While potentially regulating it a little bit more and potentially getting a lot of the garbage coins that are out there and some garbage NFTs that are out there might actually help the industry move forward, because there is a little bit more organization and there is a little bit more control. Only the really good coins that have intrinsic value and that people actually want will survive. One of the other reasons too is because a lot of beginner investors have been tied to a lot of, well, for lack of a better term, garbage coins over the last couple of years, falling for scams and falling victim to a lot of exchanges out there like BlockFi and FTX and a lot of their misleading practices. Some regulation in the industry could help to solve a lot of that, and it could help cryptocurrency to become the world-class asset that a lot of investors believe that it should be. Now, I'm not saying that cryptocurrency should be regulated. I'm not arguing for it being a security or a commodity either. What I am saying though is that if you are a beginner and you're interested in investing in cryptocurrency, you have to know what you're investing in before you buy your first coin. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that cryptocurrency is a bad investment or it's a good investment. Every investment is going to depend on you and your own risk tolerance. So make sure you always do your own due diligence and never listen to random people on the internet, especially me. Cryptocurrency and XRP are not out of the woods yet. There is still a lot to be decided when it comes to cryptocurrency and what it's going to be classified as by the United States government and our court system. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you think that cryptocurrencies like XRP should or should not be classified as a security? And if they're not a security, then what exactly should they be classified as? That is it for me, everybody. Be kind out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.